Millions in Syria and Iraq are facing water shortages as the region's longest river. The Euphrates dries up. Small square. The Euphrates River is one of the world's oldest and most stunning natural bodies of water in the world because of its historical significance. Many explanations have been carried out in and around the river to better understand human history. In recent years, interest has increased in what scary discoveries the river may hold given the myriad mysteries surrounding the Middle East. So follow along to learn about what may just be the most terrifying discovery uncovered yet about the largest water supply in West Asia. For many Christians, the mention of the Euphrates brings their attention to religious texts in the Book of Revelation and certain parts of the Book of Genesis. Many others know about the Great River as a result of paying attention in geography class. Whatever class you belong to, we're sure you are undoubtedly interested to learn the new and important information it has to offer. The river is one of Western Asia's most significant and longest rivers. Beginning in Turkey, it flows through the region's southeast mountains and southern foothills, traveling through Syria and Iraq where it passes through several different types of vegetation before emptying into the Persian Gulf. Patches of the ancient vegetation still exist in the Euphrates basin even though centuries of human habitation and activities have severely ruined the terrain. In 1923, the three riparian governments of the Euphrates, France, Turkey and the United Kingdom had to come to an agreement on the usage of its water and the building of any hydraulic installations, which shows how important the river has been, not just to religion but politics as well. The Euphrates experiences its highest water levels from April through May because it obtains the majority of its water from rainfall and snowmelt. According to one source, the river discharges between 60 and 70% of its yearly total over these 2 months, although there is less runoff in the summer and 4 months. According to a 1946 agreement between Turkey and Iraq, Turkey was required to inform Iraq of any hydraulic changes it made to the Tigris and Euphrates river system, and Iraq was even permitted to build dams on Turkish soil to control the flow of the Euphrates. Small square. However, as of 2021, news in the Middle East reported severe droughts and hastily decreasing water levels. And in the months that followed, alarms have begun to arise over the fact that the ancient river is drying up. The rapidly decreasing water levels have alarmed geological experts, making them confused and highly concerned as to what might be causing this terrifying situation on the land. The detrimental impacts of the receding waters are evident as the water levels in Syria's dams have declined as a result of the water restrictions from the Turkish government, and so have the region's electric supply and production. As if that's not horrific enough, the Euphrates River's banks are losing agricultural land. Lack of water for agriculture is a death sentence in a nation where 60% of people struggle to put food on the table. In Iraq, an additional 7 million people run the risk of going without access to water. And while governments are concerned about their boundaries, the weather is not the Euphrates River water reduction policy of the Turkish government. According to the Autonomous Administration of Northern Syria, will put 9 million Syrians who live near the river at risk of humanitarian catastrophes. Most critically, it has become harder to have access to water for drinking, meaning there might be grave health consequences for people. The United Nations has also warned that the Mediterranean will experience increasingly devastating heat waves. Syria is one of the nations with the highest risk according to the Global Climate Risk Index, which claims that even Lake Assad suffers as a result of this pattern. Residents of the village of Small Square have grown from 9 to 19 hours each day. Cry out that their olive trees are thirsty and the animals are hungry. This issue seems to not only affect residents but also workers, as some engineers fear that if this keeps on, they might stop producing energy for everyone except for bakeries, grain mills and hospitals. Since there are only a handful of logical theories as to why the river is drying up, people have taken the belief that this happening is connected to the biblical Book of Revelation. Shockingly, fewer people are astonished by the development as they claim it was bound to happen since the Bible documents its occurrence. What terrifies people more is the fact that the end of the world as prophesied in the Bible is becoming a reality right before their eyes. Many believe that important chapters of the apocalyptic book of Small Square provide evidence of Iraq's relevance in end-time scenarios. The Euphrates River, which flows through modern-day Iraq, was mentioned in chapter 16 of the Book of Revelation, which also contains the only allusion to Armageddon in the Bible. According to the book, the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its waters was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. According to religious subtext, the bowl's contents forced the river to stop flowing, and most of the water on earth has been contaminated or ruined by previous bowl judgments. The purpose of this judgment is not to taint or stop using this water, but rather appears to be about demolishing a defensive barrier to open the way for advancing eastern kingdoms. The Euphrates separated east from west during the time of the writing of Revelation, and to the east of it were the kingdoms of China and India. The river was referred to in the Bible severally as the Great River. It marked the inheritance's eastern frontier for Israel. It protected Israel as it was challenging to cross for enemies, and a desert lay between it and Canaan, the promised land to the west. Historically, by rerouting the Euphrates River, which passed through Babylon, Cyrus of Persia's soldiers managed to take control of the city centuries before they marched over its drying riverbed into Babylon to take the city. In another biblical reference to the Euphrates, the sixth angel of God is told to release the four angels who were imprisoned at the great river Euphrates. Black small square, and upon doing so, the agents of death who were said to have been kept ready for this particular hour and day and month and year and were released to kill a third of mankind are led free. Recently, rumors are circulating, possibly in an attempt to justify this passage by spreading news of some strange voices believed to emanate from the depths of the drying river. This has further reinforced people's beliefs that these events taking place right now are a sign of Christ's second coming to conquer his enemies and establish his heavenly kingdom. However, the New Testament professor at Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., Craig Hill, is one of many biblical scholars who complain that end-time interpreters twist the Bible to support their viewpoints. He claimed that while many professors read the Bible literally, they actually use passages from book that were written under various conditions and hundreds of years apart. One of the most well-known end-time books, Ezekiel, was penned in the 6th century BC by a Judean priest who was exiled to Babylon and had dreams of the restoration of the temple and the return of the Jews to Israel, a Christian expatriate who was encouraging the churches in Asia Minor to endure Roman rule. 600 years later, around 95 AD, wrote the Book of Revelation. This leaves us with a lot to ponder after reading these passages. It's also interesting to note that reading from the Book of Enoch, another text some claim is directly related to the Bible, we learn of a story from the Genesis period in which Enoch, a prophet before Noah, spoke of living in a time when there were 200 angels called the Watchers. Their sole duty was to watch over creation. And one day they looked upon human women, either through the influence of the fallen angel Lucifer or through other means. Black small square born out of the union were giants. According to some scholars, the giant breeding angels who were punished for their sins remain trapped beneath the Euphrates and will be let go to obliterate a third of the planet. People have begun to talk about their worries and express their delight, saying they never thought they would see Revelations truly make sense. What was before and difficult to understand is now more evident. And that speaks volumes in and of itself. Whilst the most intriguing notion about the river revolves around biblical prophecies, other theories link the current happenings around the Euphrates, political goals and climate change. So do you think we're witnessing the Book of Revelation come to life, or do you think it has to do with climate and politics? Let us know in the comments. Black small square, black small square, black small square, black small square.